Okay, Algebra 1, Part 1. This is Day 6 notes, still in Chapter 0, this review chapter that we're doing right now, all right? First thing right off the bat, we're trying to do ordering in number lines for Day 6. A little review, though. A rational number from the day before is any fraction or repeating decimal. We'll talk about some decimals here in a minute. The first section, though, kind of jumps all over the place. The first section, we're trying to write everything in A over B form, or basically fraction form. So if you ever see A over B form, they're just saying, give me the fraction for that, all right? So instead of a decimal like 0.8, what is that as a fraction? You might remember your decimal places. If not, we'll jot them down here in a minute. The 0.8 is the 8/10 is another way to say that. So it's 8 over 10. That's the fraction. You can simplify it, but you don't need to right now. Number 2, negative 0.23. All right, this is 23 100ths is the way to say that. So negative 23, in this case, over 100, because that's in the hundredths place, the 3 is. Number 3, some of you are saying that's already a fraction. It is a fraction. It's actually a mixed number. All right, it has 4 1/2. Some of you are saying, well, it's 4 1/2 as a decimal. You can do it that way, but we're looking for just a single fraction. It's going to be an improper fraction, which is okay. To simplify this, we're going to change it back to an improper. We're going to do this little wheel thing. All right, so I'm going to start with the 2. I'm going to multiply it by the 4. So maybe I'll put a time sign there to remember. And then I'm going to add the 1. So 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. And then I keep the denominator. So 9 halves. All right, 4 1/2 is the same as 9 halves as an improper fraction. And we can leave it like that for now. Number 4, same idea, negative 4.2. Let's see, this is negative 4. This is 2/10, right? 0.2 is the same as 2/10. So that's the same thing as a mixed number. Let's turn that into an improper. So 10 times 4 plus 2. That's 42. Keep that denominator over 10. Don't forget this is negative, so leave the negative sign there. So negative 4.2 is the same as negative 42/10. All right, now a little review on our rounding, all right? It says write the rational approximation of each number. Essentially, we're going to round this. All right, so we're going to round to the nearest thousandth and to the nearest hundredth. Some of you may forget your decimal places. Let's jot this down. So here's my decimal point, let's say. The first place after is the tenths. The second place after is the hundredths. And the third one is the thousandths. All right. So tenths, hundredths, thousandths. If you want further, there'd be the 10,000ths, but we don't need to do that right now anyway. All right, so let's check out number 1 again, I guess. Square root of 6. Square root of 6, I'm going to give it to you. It's right off the calculator. This is 2.449448. Keeps going, all right? It's actually an irrational number. It keeps going, but we're going to stop it right there. That's as far as we need right now. For part A, I'm going to round this off to the nearest thousandths, all right? So that's 3 places past the decimal point. So 2.449. I have to look at the next one, though, the 4. Does that 4 round my 9 up, or does it leave it a 9? All right, remember, if you're back to your rounding days, it has to be a 5 or greater to round it up, right? Anything less than a 5, you just leave it as is. So this is going to be 2.449. For part B, though, a little bit different. To the nearest hundredth, so we're doing tenths, hundredths. So this is going to be 2.4, and I have to look one place beyond it. So look toward the thousandths place. So does that 9 round up my 4? It does, right? 9's high enough to round this up, so this will be 2.45. All right, been a while since you did any rounding, probably. Number 2, the square root of 65. Again, right off the calculator. 8.0622. All right, that's far enough for right now. That decimal keeps going, but we'll cut it off right there. That's as far as we need to round it here. I'll do A with you. To the nearest thousandths. So tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Look one beyond there. Does that 2 round this number up or leave it alone? All right, 2 is going to leave it alone. So this is going to be 8.062. Part B. To the nearest hundredth. So tenths, hundredths. Look one beyond it. Does that 2 round up to 6 or leave it alone? Hopefully you're saying leave it alone. All right, 8.06. I'll let you try number 3. I'll give you the decimal, though. Some of you don't have your calculator handy. Negative square root of 13. This is negative 3.6055. All right. Try to round that off to the nearest thousandth and the nearest hundredth. I'll let you try that one. All right, we'll go over the next day in class, hopefully. At the bottom of the page, here's one so you can see all this. We're trying to place all of these numbers in order, essentially, on a number line. So we got kind of a random set of numbers here, some decimals. The biggest one is 3.75, looks like. The smallest one, maybe negative 2.3. So I gotta get my number line to go from like negative 3, maybe up to 4, to get all these in here. Try to space it out evenly, I guess. I don't know. It's not really even. So negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2. Yeah, mine's not very good, but close enough. All right, so negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. There's 4. Spacing's not right, but it'll work for now. All right, so just start plotting these in here. A lot of you are better with decimals than you are fractions, so maybe not too much of a problem. Be careful, like 3.75 is almost to 4, right? So that's in here somewhere. I'm gonna write them up top, 3.75. Let me cross it off, so I know I did that one. 2.5. 2.5 is 2.5. That's halfway between 2 and 3. I know it's here. All right. Doesn't really matter which ones you do first. I guess 0.7. 0.7 is less than 1. It's bigger than 0.5, so it's bigger than 1/2, so try to make it as accurate as you can. Maybe in here somewhere, 0.7. All right, 0.5 is over here, so squeeze that in there. There's 0.5. Let me write it up top, maybe. The other ones are negatives, so be careful. Negative 1.3. It's more negative than negative 1, right? So it's further negative. It's negative 1.3 is over here somewhere. Negative 1.3, all right? You're below 1, negative 1. Same idea for the next couple. Negative 2.25, you're further negative than negative 2. All right, it's like negative 2 1/4, so maybe in here somewhere. Again, not perfect, but close enough. Negative 2.3, is that less than negative 2.25 or greater than negative 2.25? All right, well, the 3 is in the 10th place. That's bigger than the 2 in the 10th place, so it's actually more negative. So I'm going to squeeze this one in here. There's negative 2.3. All right. So just ordering things on a number line. If you have the decimal, it's a lot easier. Fractions, much more complicated. You might want to change them to decimals for now. All right, let's try the next page. So we've got some number lines here. All right, so it says just basically mark the number line correctly. All right, the 0 and 1 are shown. Name the coordinate of each letter, essentially. So they're giving us 0 and 1. That's basically setting our scale. So 0 to 1 is just between 2 letters. So if that's 0 to 1, must be the n is at 2, because every dash is a whole number, or is a 1, essentially. All right, so keep going. 3, 4, negative 1, negative 2. All right, not bad. That one's easy. The next one, not as easy, though. There's some, here's 0, here's 1. All right, at the O and the T end point. So that means I have how many spaces between 0 and 1? I have 1 space, 2 spaces, 3 spaces. So this is like our distance between here, right? So I have 3 spaces. That's going to cut this up into thirds. So this is like 1/3, 2/3. You remember that 1 is the same as 3/3. All right, you can think of it that way if that helps. So each space is 1/3. Let's go backwards. What's the P at? Well, if this is positive 1/3, this is negative 1/3. All right, I'm gonna let you try number 3. This is a little bit different way of thinking about things. Here's the 0, here's the 1. E is right in the middle of it. So what's halfway between 0 and 1? That's gotta be 0.5 or 1/2. You can use fractions if you want. So now I know every space is 1/2, all right? Try to figure out these other letters. Number 4 at the bottom. All right, again, they give you 0 and 1. K is at 0, so they didn't really fill anything in. There's 0. M is at 1. And it says place the letters, or between which two consecutive points is the graph of each of the following. Okay. So let's figure out the rest of these first. So this is 1, this must be 2. Here's 3, 4. U is at 5. If you go to the other side, this is I is at -1. Right, if you want to put all of them in here, halfway between 0 and 1 is L, right? So that's got to be 0.5 or 1/2. So 1.5, and so on. You can fill all of them in. All right, this is going to help you later on in the year, just recognizing how big numbers are, where they are, right? Saves you some time later on. Don't forget -0.5 over here. So we're going by 0.5s all the way across here, right? I got from -1 to 5. And now a little bit different. We're not going to put these on the number line. We're actually going to say what letters does 0.25 fall between. So 0.25, we know that's between 0 and 0.5. So it's between K and L. So that's your answer. We're going to write KL. That's it. All right, it falls between K and L. Some of these are a little bit different. I don't know, maybe pi. What's pi? If you remember, pi is 3.14. About. That's got to be between 3 and 3.5. So it's got to be between Q and R. Some of these you might need a calculator for. Square root of 3. All right, try to find that button on your phone if you don't have your calculator. Square root of 3 is 1.7 something. It keeps going, but 1.7 is good enough right now. 1.7, I know that's bigger than 1.5, but less than 2. So it's between the letters N and O. 5/3. All right, so again, 5/3. Calculator helps. Do 5 divided by 3. You're going to get 1.6. Right, it's actually 1 2/3, which is 1.6 repeating. Right, but the repeating bar, I'll very want. 1.6 though, that's still going to be close to 1.7. So probably the same letters between N and O. All right. This next ones, I'm going to let you try these. I'm going to give you the decimals though. All right, so I want you to try these last 4 on your own. -3.4, -3/4, that's the same as -0.75, right? 3/4. Square root of 6, if you have a calculator, it's 2.4 something. That's good enough for now. Square root of 0.49, if you remember your perfect squares, that's 0.7. And the last one, pi over 3. Well, we know pi is 3.14. Divide that by 3, it's going to be like 1.0 something, 1.04, I think. So try to plot those. Well, you're not plotting them. Try to find the letters that they're between. The last thing on the notes is ordering the numbers from smallest to greatest. All right, by using this less than symbol. So I want the smallest one first, and then the greatest at the other side, all right? So I'll do at least one of these with you. 0.4, 0.45, or 0.4499. Well, 0.4 repeating keeps going, right? So if you want to, maybe it helps you to see it, 0.4444. Those are all 4s. This one has some 9s in it. This one has a 5 in it. All right, this 5 is in the hundredths place. These ones all have 4s in the hundredths place. So I'd say that's the biggest one right there. The smallest one, since these are all 4s, is less than the 9. So I'm going to say 0.4 repeating is less than this one, 0.4499, which is less than 0.45. Now they're from least to greatest. All right. Letter B. This one's messy. You got all some square roots here, decimal, I guess. Let's write these all as decimals. All right, change the decimals first. All right, that'll make this a lot easier. So negative square root of 2, that is negative, I'll give you these, 1.414. All right. Negative square root of 3 is negative 1.732. And this one's already a decimal, negative 1.5. So we can separate those out, negative 1.5. These are negatives though too, so one more thing to keep straight, I guess. The smallest one is the further one to the negative side, right? Whichever one's a further negative is the smallest one. So I'm thinking negative 1.7. All right, I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna write down what it originally was. It was negative square root of 3. That one's the furthest negative. Is less than, well, 1.5 is a bigger number, but it's negative, so it's further negative than this one. So negative 1.5, which is less than, gotta be the last one. This one's the biggest one. All right, so negative square root of 2. All right, a little bit different. Change them to decimals first. All right, I'm gonna let you try these last two. Try C and D. Try to use your phone so you can get those decimals. I'll let you try to get those. All right, we'll go over this in class.